Okay, locker room, I just got finished. I was working out. And of course, such glory that I had Tuesday afternoon when I was talking to you guys about, I was so happy that I was wrong about the George Pickens stuff and that it hadn't come up. And we're here right now today on draft day. Today is the NFL draft. And I was, man, I was like, I'm elated. I think we're going to get something done behind the scenes here and everybody's staying quiet. I haven't heard from anybody on the George Pickens front, so that was good news to me, especially coming up to the draft until I thought it was going to be somebody on the outside stirring up something, one of those places on ESPN or something, on one of those shows that like to stir up cowboy stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about. But by golly, good googly goo. It wasn't one of the shows. This was friendly fire. Stephen Jones does the press conference and talks about how difficult it is to have both wide receivers being paid top dollar plus the highest paid quarterback. And we know how difficult that is. Sharing that with us benefited no one. Unless you're trying to prep us for what's going on tonight. And the joy I had 2 days ago, the height of the joy is matched by the depth of worry I have now after hearing what they possibly can be thinking. Why we hear this right now is also absolutely crazy. I don't care. Well, let me tell you what they said and what he said. He said, he talked about it being difficult, and then the people started talking about rumblings about Dallas moving up to get a big-time receiver so they can have him on the rookie deal to go with CeeDee Lamb. That whole thought is very disappointing. I don't care what kind of prospect you have at the wide receiver position. Whatever you think in your mind he's going to be, and whatever he has been on the field where he's played, it doesn't guarantee you it's going to transition to the NFL and become what George Pickens was for the Dallas Cowboys last year. There's no possible way you can think, no one can think that option would be much better than the primary option of having both George and CeeDee some kind of way. You cannot believe that's the better option. Now, Stephen Jones talked about George on the tag. He's on the tag, gives him some opportunity to sign with other teams or whatever, but let's see what happens there. And he's almost, I guess he did admit that there are no plans for a long-term deal. And what that means for us is, if there are no plans for a long-term deal, there's probably no chance that George Pickens is going to be in Dallas. Or certainly a good chance that we're going to spend most of this year talking about when is George Pickens going to report to camp, or we're going to move him and trade him and talk about and spend most of the year comparing whoever is put in that place to George Pickens. And that's a hell of a role to fill when he had over 1,400 yards and when CeeDee Lamb was out, the way he stepped up and made plays. And he's a different type of receiver. And Dak's never really had this big guy, like I told you guys forever, a big guy that can go out on the outside and make plays, and he knows how to stretch the football field. You go get a guy out of college, I told you, you don't know how that's going to transition. You don't know how he's going to bring that talent over. But more importantly than what he does is also how the defense thinks. Right now, any defense Dallas plays, they know hell is on the way because they got two receivers that they have to deal with, and they're going crazy in their mind thinking about how to stop them. This game is also built on reputation, on what people know. They are not going to come in concerned about a rookie receiver that haven't played on this level. But when they see a George Pickens and a CeeDee Lamb, now they start pulling hairs out, or whatever hairs they have left in their head, because most of them are old, and I tell you all the time, old people like them don't have hair. That's why I don't consider myself old, because I got too much hair. But I digress. Let's get back to what we were talking about. And that's Stephen Jones, friendly fire. I'm saying stop. The chance for the Dallas Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl is simple. You sign, more importantly than anybody right now, George Pickens. Because I want an offensive side and something that's almost unstoppable. I want a defensive side with one element that's almost unstoppable. So the offensive side, the element that should be unstoppable is Dak Prescott and the two receivers. On the defensive side, I know y'all think I'm crazy, but I'm going to get two defensive ends. I know y'all think I'm crazy when I keep saying I'll go try to get Bain and Mastador. But I'm not crazy, because it would solidify the defensive line. If I can do these two things, score points and pressure, to run, pass, everyone's ass with a great defensive front. I can find guys to make the back end work. We got to do this. Oh my God, we gotta take this approach. When you have so many holes to fill on a defense, stack one area and work on the rest. I'm going to stack the defensive line. I'm going to find me a middle backer. And when I stack my defensive line, I can even take a little slight down on the middle backer. I don't have to go get the young guy that can run a 4-2, 4-3 and can run all day, because my defensive line is going to take care of so much. I can go get the older guy that just sees this game. And there'll be plenty of them out there. The guys that see the game, like a Bobby Wagner and stuff like that, and all he just sets the formation to help the rest of the guys get a line and to read the defense, to read that run game, already knowing the defensive line is going to protect them because they're savages. If the defensive line creates all the lanes and everything for the linebacker. That's why I'm saying I'm going to make a savage defensive line and have a savage throwing game and then say, let's play ball. And we'll win a lot of games putting points on the board and watching that defensive line hunt. Here it is. This is the key to getting the Cowboys back right now. Get out of your head. Don't out of your brain overthinking. No. And I guarantee y'all this. The only damn reason we are saying this right now is because of the relationship between Jerry Jones and David Mulugeta. Now, you guys know nobody can defend me, but I finally found someone that can. SimpliSafe is the only defender that can cover the playmaker. That's because it's not just another alarm. It's designed to help stop crime before it starts. SimpliSafe is comprehensive safety. It's 24/7 monitoring, cameras inside and outside, watching every door and window and room for intruders, fires, floods, and more. I want you to experience the same peace of mind I do, which is why I've partnered with SimpliSafe to offer an exclusive discount to all my listeners. Right now, you can get 50% off your new system by visiting SimpliSafe.com/playmaker. That's half off at SimpliSafe.com/playmaker. There is no safe like SimpliSafe. I told y'all Dave Mulugeta came up to me and talked to me about, my stance with the Michael situation. I respect it and I appreciate it. But the reality is, as I said to him, you can't bring any personal into this. In the first moment you told Jerry not to send that contract, I don't care that it wasn't the contract you wanted. The first moment you told him not to send it, for me, that was the issue. I don't care what Jerry has said. And now I'm sensing this is back in the game again. That's what's happening here. Nobody's heard anything. Nobody's talking about anything. And neither of those guys have talked. Nobody has talked. I'm curious to wonder who has talked to George Pickens. Has anybody talked to George Pickens? I haven't heard any teams talking to George Pickens. And going into the draft. I'm imagining any team that wanted to make an offer to George Pickens would have made an offer by now because they wanted to know, do we have George? What do we do in the draft? So now a team goes in the draft and they don't get what they want. Now they make an offer to George. This is interesting to me. I also wonder if George had another agent, would they have already engaged in conversations? Would they already have engaged in talks? And me wondering is one thing. It's a problem if George is wondering. You see what I'm saying? I wouldn't want to be wondering why we're not talking about my money. And if I see any other reasons interfering with why we're not talking about my money, it is my job to step in and remove that problem so we can talk about my money. I have to have two people that's focused on the business of my money, not the business of each other. That's what I'm saying if I'm George Pickens. And honestly, I don't know if this is a tactic by Steven and Jerry and everybody, Jerry and them. And if it is, I don't approve of it. I want George to know how much we want him. I want George to understand his best option is probably right here in Dallas. And then I want to get something done immediately. I am now concerned with what's about to happen tonight in the draft and what's about to happen with George Pickens and the Dallas Cowboys. Vanity. The devil will tell you always. And he said it in that movie. The Devil's Advocate. Vanity is his favorite sin. Me, I, me, I. Vanity. That's what George is in the middle of. Vanity. Two men. Two men's vanity is getting in the way of his money. And George, you got to make sure you step in the middle of this and control your own destiny and direction.